Hi, welcome to Recovery by Grace, and today I want to talk about the law of being a good person. Let me first explain a little bit about what I mean by the law of being a good person. Well, we all have a standard of judgment in which we operate from. We all have beliefs of what's good, and we all have beliefs of what's bad. We all have beliefs of what will make us happy and what will make us sad. Um, and we live in an age nowadays, is the postmodern age, where everyone makes their own judgments of what's wrong, what's right, what's good, what's bad. And a lot of people, if you talk to them, will say that they believe they're a good person. And they've set this, without realizing it, they've set this law up in all their relationships with other people, saying that I'm a good person, you're a good person, let's be good to each other, and if we're not, then you're not a good person, you're a bad person, and or some other form of reconciliation has to occur in that situation. So let's say you have two people in a relationship. This could be spouse, this could be friend, this could be coworker, and both of them are operating under the law of being a good person. And that's basically, the law can be summed up like this: Thou shalt be good to me, and I will be good to you. Um, so they have a problem. Um, they're being kind or nice to each other, and a lot of little stuff that might happen between them that they kind of overlook. Oh well, we're not perfect. So they, you know, have that covering over little things between them that are not being good to each other. So what ends up happening though is there'll be an event or something will happen where one person will do something to the other person, and there'll need to be payment for reconciliation. There'll either need to be an apology. I'm sorry, what I did was wrong. Okay, you know, you've paid the debt. Now the relationship can be reconciled. The other person, say it's a big debt. You'll see this in a lot of romantic movies where the boyfriend blows it and just he messes up, does something horrible, and he shows up and he has a gift for her. He has flowers and wine and candy, and he wants to take her out on a date, and he's just, oh, I'm so sorry, I messed up, please forgive me, I'm such an idiot. And if that payment is suitable to the other person, then they accept it and say, okay, I forgive you. And then what normally will end up happening over time is these rifts, this good person law will be violated by one person, either in a really big extreme way or just over time a lot of little ways, that there'll become a rift in between them. And what I have seen is that you'll have actually end up with two people. One will say, I was right, this is why I did what I did, I understand why I did what I did. They don't get it, they don't understand, they don't see why what they did hurt me, they don't see why what they did was mean to me. And you'll see a lot of this time on talk shows where someone has done something or is doing something, and the other person's like, no, I was okay for doing that, and these are my reasons. So then you have two people who are now judging good with no outside source of saying, no overarching, you can get a lot of people to side with you and agree that your position's right, but the other person could also probably get a lot of people. So you end up with this people judging, what's wrong and right, or good and bad. So that's why you see a lot of relationships that fall apart. You see a lot of relationships that break down over time, because they're operating under the law of being a good person. Well, here's the second. So let's say you're looking at your life right now. You're like, okay, I'm operating under that. I'm operating under the belief that I'm a good person. I've made my own rules, my own law, my own way that I will treat other people. Well, the sad truth is a lot of people are just can be very selfish, and a lot of stuff that they do because they were being selfish. And so when they're laying out their justification, well, it made me feel good, or you didn't fulfill this desire, so I had to go get this desire fulfilled somewhere else. And it's sad. I mean, there's a lot of broken relationships there, and it makes my heart sad, because I see in my own life when either my wife or my kids or my friends don't do something, I immediately want to go into the law of the good person. Like, I don't deserve that. You should have done. You should have done something better towards me. I didn't deserve what you did towards me, and maybe I didn't. But at the end of the day, though, I have to remember and operate out what I like to call the law of grace, mercy, and forgiveness. And I really, we got to have God's grace for this. We cannot do this on our own. But there is a perspective of interacting with other people where you're not believing you're a good person. You actually believe the opposite. You believe that you are a sinner, and that means you're a bad person. That most of the time, the person you're looking after is number one, yourself. And you'll use people to get what you want, and you'll do things that other people may not agree with, but it satisfied whatever your desire was. And that's called being a sinner. That's being broken. I think it's interesting how Jesus sums up the law and says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. This is the greatest commandment. So this is the greatest law, is to love God and love people. But we don't. We fall short of that. So if you come into a relationship with a different perspective of, I am a sinner in need of grace and mercy from God, then you're able to extend mercy and grace to others when they sin against you, or when they're not a good person towards you. And then you can have true reconciliation in those situations. And it really breaks my heart, especially when I see Christian couples get divorced, when I see Christians struggle with relationships, and they don't realize that they're really operating out of this the law of being a good person, which most people, I mean, that's just where we default, apart from God's grace. So Jesus tells this story about forgiveness, and this guy walks in and he owes this king $1 billion, and the king forgives him the $1 billion, and he's like jumping and skipping. He's so happy because he had no way to pay it back, and he was going to go to prison for embezzlement and fraud, and he's been forgiven. He owes nothing. And then he goes out and he meets this guy that he took to lunch the other day at McDonald's and bought a combo meal. And the guy's like, I don't have any money. Can you cover me today, and I'll get you back later? And the guy's like, sure. So he pays for this combo meal. Dude owes him $7. Well, he walks out, sees him walking down the street, and he runs up and says, "Hey, where's my $7 for that combo meal from yesterday?" He's like, "Well, I'll pay you back. I haven't got my paycheck yet." And the guy's like, "No, you'll pay me back now." He's like, "I want my money now. You go, and he starts attacking the guy, wanting to be paid back. And he's like, the fight gets broken up, and he's like, I'm suing you. I'm suing you for that $7 you owe me. Well, people see that, and they go back to the king, and they're like, hey, the guy that you forgave the $1 billion, he was out there beating some dude up for $7 that he owed him. And the king's pretty furious. He's pretty mad at this, and calls the guy in. So the guy comes in. He comes strutting in. He's like, hey king, what's going on? No longer in that humble position of needing forgiveness of his debt. And so the king goes, "Hey, I heard you were out there choking some guy for $7. So, is that true?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I took him out to lunch yesterday. He owed me $7." And the king's like, "Hey, um, you're going to jail. You know that debt I forgave you, the $1 billion that you were so happy about the other day, but you were unwilling to show mercy and grace to the guy that owed you $7? You're going to jail, and I'll tell you this much: you're not getting out until you pay me back every penny that you owe me." And the guy, he goes to jail, and he's never getting out. He has no way to pay back that sum of money. And when we look, and Jesus tells this story, and the point of the story is to understand that God is the King who has shown us mercy and grace through His Son Jesus Christ. That we have been forgiven a debt that we could not pay, a debt that we owed, wrath we deserved, and God said, "I'm sparing you, and I'm putting it on my Son, Jesus Christ, God in the flesh." And He takes on all the debt, all the justice, everything we owed for wronging someone else or being a bad person towards them, takes all of that on Himself. And now we're to show that we've been forgiven so much by forgiving others the $7 that they owe us. And this is only an act of grace and mercy in our hearts, because, like I keep saying, we don't default to this. This takes a miracle in our hearts. When your spouse, your children, or people don't obtain that level, that bar of goodness that we've set for ourselves and others, and how we expect to be treated, we don't want to show mercy and grace. We want justice. We want the law of the good person. We don't want the law of mercy and grace. But when we understand how much we have been forgiven, when we understand that at the end of the day we really don't want justice because we are not good people, that actually we're very selfish, self-centered, and self-righteous, in default mode from birth, we don't want justice. We want mercy. And I just pray God would have grace on you right now to see that you operate out of that mentality, how that will lead to death of relationships. Maybe you have a string of dead relationships behind you, and you've never understood why. I hope that this would encourage you to understand that you're operating out of the law of a good person. And I would pray and hope and ask that you would understand that there's mercy and grace to be found through the cross in Jesus Christ, and that when you understand that you're not a good person but you're a sinner, then you'll understand that then you'll be able to forgive and show mercy to others, because you'll understand how much you've been forgiven. And I just pray for myself and for you that God would just have mercy and grace on us through Jesus Christ, and that we would be able to understand and be strengthened through His Spirit to understand the depths of forgiveness and mercy that God has shown us, so that we would be able to forgive and love others. It's totally against our flesh, and we need mercy and grace to do that. So, hey, I hope this helps. I hope this helps you in your relationships with others and your understanding of how much you've been forgiven. And I just pray that God would give you grace and mercy to see your need for a Savior. So thanks for tuning in, where humanity is humbled and Jesus Christ is exalted.